Hey everybody, Poker Dad here. Thank you very much for stopping by and checking out another YouTube video. I know I haven't been putting up too many of these, but I have adjusted my schedule, so I do plan to get up a lot more YouTube videos. And this video I'm going to be doing here is going to be a session review of a global poker session that I played today. So what I did is I actually went through the hand history afterwards and grabbed the links to the hands. Actually, this is a great way if you happen to play on global poker and you know it's kind of difficult because there's no hand downloaders or anything like that you can use with global poker. Sometimes it can be kind of tricky to accumulate hands to be able to review. So if you actually go into their hand history, and what I ended up doing was I ended up going hand by hand by clicking next hand, next hand, next hand, next hand, and then grabbing links to the hands that I saw were interesting I wanted to take a look at. And then what I end up doing here, there's a spreadsheet of mine, is I end up putting the links to all the hands here so we can take a look at them. So let's take a look at some of the hands here that we played from earlier today. Some we'll try and break down a little more, probably in Flopzilla or in Poker Snowy, depending on what I feel like we need to do. So anyway, let's just jump right into the action here. I actually already looked at this hand previously, so actually, give me 1 second. One little sound issue I want to fix here to make sure that you guys can hear the sound effects, because that's always exciting. And I should have it set up now that we can hear everything. Yep. Okay. So anyway, here we get an open raise here from under the gun. Now, this particular player, I remember, was quite psychotic the entire session. I was playing on 5 tables at the time, and this player was at 3 of them, and I had them marked as pretty aggro. So because they were pretty aggro, I decided to actually flat my 10s here in what is essentially the button, because this player actually wasn't in the hand yet. And we get a call here from the small blind, and we go multi-way. And the flop here is definitely an interesting one. I'm pretty happy about it. The small blind player checks, and this here was kind of alarming to me because this player had been so aggro. It seemed really strange that they decided to check here. Almost trappy in a way. I did decide to throw out a half pot bet here in position, and we get rid of the small blind, and then they decide to raise here. I think the raise is really quite interesting because I've seen this player at constantly a bunch of different, even at the other tables, just glancing while they were playing other hands with people, and they were just doing some pretty crazy stuff and pretty aggro. So this kind of fit the bill of their aggro play, but it really was kind of strange the fact that this time they decided to check, especially when they were the pre-flop raiser. I do call, of course. And this is the interesting thing, and I definitely think I made a mistake here. They decided to check to me here, and really, it's questionable if I should have checked or I should have bet here. I could have done either or. Now, I did run this hand through Snowy already, and as you can see here, Snowy does say that actually I should be checking most of the time. It's probably the most highest EV thing to check. So I think I did actually play it correctly here by checking here. But it really puts me, as you'll see, in a really tough spot on the river. On the river, a 9 of hearts comes out. Now, it's kind of hard to know what the hell to do here. Our opponent decides to shove here, which, again, I've seen this opponent do these things. Ultimately, I decided to fold. And I looked back at this at Snowy before this video, and Snowy says really it's the same EV. It's 0 EV calling or folding. You know, could he be doing some? Here's my issue: is that the 9 is very worrisome here, because for me to win in this hand, I mean, he's going to have to be doing these types of things just with like random overcards. If he has overpairs, I'm beat. If he had a pair of 9s, which is quite possible that might be doing in this particular board as an overcard, they now have a set. You know, the 8, why would they check an 8 there? The other concern was if he had 4s and now he has a full house because the board is paired. Not only that, but also there's a flush that completes as well. There were just so many things that I could possibly lose to. Even though this person's a complete maniac, you know, I just think I had to fold it there. I have to apologize. I'm getting over the flu, so that's why I'm gotta drink this water here. So I thought this was a pretty interesting hand. Let's go take a look at the next hand here. This is the only hand that I broke down before this video. So let's take a look at the next hand, and let's see. Right here I have Ace 10 suited, and I am in the cutoff. It's kind of funny. The Global Poker replays don't actually show where the button is, which I think is kind of funny. But this is the cutoff. Here we have the under the gun, the middle position, the cutoff, the button, the small blind, and the big blind. And we have $24.19 here. So we get an open limp here, which of course is a play that only recreational players are going to make. And another way you notice as a recreational player is because their stack size is below 100 big blinds at $17.42. Now, during the session, I will tell you that I set up auto top up, and auto top up only does a top up automatically when you have 95 big blinds or less. So there will be times where it actually looks like I might be a recreational player, but this is clearly a recreational player because they are open limping. So we isolate here up to 90 cents and get a call from the button. And naturally, a lot of times you'll see this, you'll get the call from the original open limper as well. And the board comes out just not really too favorable for us. We don't have any clubs out here. All we have is 2 overcards. So it goes check, 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 which is perfectly fine. And the turn comes the ace, which is great for us. Not really too worried at this point when the turn comes out of having to worry about a 5-card hand. Definitely feel like we should be ahead here with the ace. So let's see. I decided to check here, and I think this is actually a pretty bad play. I don't know why I checked here. I should just be betting here with the ace. Charge for any draws at this point, because our hand could definitely be vulnerable to being outdraw here. Obviously, if a 6 or a 7 comes out, there's a 4 cards to a straight out there. So this is actually a really bad check here. I'd rather see myself bet here. And just for that exact reason, we got to charge for these potential draws here. The ace is intimidating as well. It would be okay if we just take down this pot now. And as you can see, it does go check, check, check. And one of the worst cards to hit the river does, and that's the 6 of diamonds. Because now a 4 card to a straight is out there. So either one of these 2 guys could easily have a 7 here. That would have decided to check the turn to get a free card, and then they do hit this straight. So this is the type of hand you want to have in a multi-way pot, is a hand that's going to make a 5-card hand. And I definitely lost my opportunity here by not betting the turn. So that was definitely a mistake on my part. We check, and it checks around. And did we win it anyway? We did win anyway. So we're definitely fortunate that we did win this hand here. But it would have been really frustrating because we would have had to fold really to any bet here. So while we did win the hand, I don't like the way the hand was played. Let's take a look at the next hand. Next hand here, we have pocket 8s from the small blind. We are 5-handed. Everybody here over 100 big blinds. Actually, we're 4-handed, okay, because this player's not even in yet. So we get a pretty large 3.5x open from the button. I think this is that same player, by the way. I think this is that same aggro player. I decided to call instead of 3-bet because, again, to 3.5x open, I mean, really I could do one of 2 things here. I can 3-bet or I can fold. This is one of those spots where I'm okay calling in the small blind. I don't want to fold my 8s in case I can land a set. I don't want to 3-bet versus the points, versus the 70-cent open. So I'm okay flatting here in the small blind. I don't expect to get squeezed too often. And if we play multi-way, that's fine. I'm just looking to hit a set at that point, and anything else I can fold out. So we do go heads up. And if I do remember correctly, this is that same aggro player. That being said, we decide to check here, out of position. And our opponent, after thinking a while, decides to check back. A 6 comes out, which does give us a gut shot here. Now, I could do one of two things here. I can throw out an underbet here for protection for my 8s, plus also I didn't improve to a gut shot, or I can check call. I definitely wouldn't check raise here. I do at least also have an 8. So I think that's the best options here. Let's see what I did. I do decide to check. So I think I'd rather see myself underbet here. Not really too thrilled about the check, but it's not terrible, of course. We're definitely going to call a bet. And, you know, so we could have underbet here and kind of played some kind of pot control. Instead, what happens is our opponent puts out a $1.25 bet. It makes kind of an awkward spot here. We got to call. We can't raise. We do have showdown value. But on the other hand, like, what are we really losing to here? This could be an interesting spot to go and take a look at in Flopzilla in a second. But like, what would they be betting here? Well, they could really be betting any 2 cards at this point, just to get us to fold, which is always possible. They could have they could obviously have a pair of 6s now. They could have pocket 9s, pocket 10s are always possible as well. That maybe would have checked the flop here. We think that a flush draw probably would have bet the flop. I don't expect him to have any kind of straights or anything like that, because a straight gut shot like 7-8 would have likely bet the flop. So I think for the most part we're going to be ahead here, except for hands like 9s and 10s. So I think we definitely got to call this. And also, of course, we have outs as well. And I don't expect him to have a jack. I think a jack, for the most part, he's going to bet there, unless he's going to check back like a weak jack on the flop. And now a queen comes out to complete a flush. Interesting hand here, the queen. Again, like we said, I don't really think he's going to have a flush here. I think the flush draw he would have bet on the flop. So the question becomes, can we call our pocket 8s here? I think that's going to be kind of hard. But I do think if it goes check-check, there's definitely a chance we could win this hand. But I think if he bets, unless he bets really small, we're going to have to fold this here. So it really is going to depend on what kind of price he gives us here. Our 8s could definitely be good here. The other problem is there really isn't too many bluffs he's going to have, unless he was bluffing air on the turn and he's going to try and bluff the river. But the problem is a lot of these players are not bluffing enough here. Global Poker NL20. So we check, and he checks back, and I believe we probably should take this down. And we do. Yeah, so what he had, let's just take a look at his hand real quick and how he played it. He checked back. He actually checked. Okay, he checked back because he didn't have anything. And he bets when he improves to an open-ended straight draw. And then, again, opts not to bluff the river. And this is, again, one of those spots there that you see a lot. The players are just not really willing to bluff too often on the rivers here, NL20 Global Poker. So this is what happens here, and we end up taking it down. So pretty easy hand for the most part. Take a look at 2 more hands. This is the hand I remember, and I'll explain what happened as we go. But again, this hand I can confirm. Excuse me. This hand I can confirm was against that crazy player. So we know the player that the hand we just saw was not versus that crazy aggro, super aggro player. This hand I remember was. I'm pretty sure this is the hand. Let's see. So here we open up from the button 2 big blinds. So this is again 5-handed, wearing the button. And he was 3-betting like crazy, this guy here. So he 3-bets up $2, which is a very large 3-bet, by the way. I mean, this is a 5x 3-bet, but he was doing this the whole time. So I started to actually open up tighter with him sitting to my direct left. Of course, I'm going to call my 9s. Now, I'm going to just tell you right now, this hand is a complete player read. So obviously we have the overpair here. We're pretty happy about it. Our opponent comes in with a pretty hefty size bet. I mean, I guess this is about a 2/3 size bet. So I mean, not terrible, but pretty big in a 3-bet pot, of course. Obviously, we're never folding our 9s here. So we call. And another 8 comes out. And he decides to bet again. Now, I mean, could we be concerned that he might have some kind of an overpair? Sure, but the way I've seen this player play is I've seen him just do things with really any 2 cards. So, versus a player like this, I just cannot fold my top pair here. So I decide to call it. And out comes a king. Obviously, not really happy about the king. He decides to shove all in. And the issue now really becomes in terms of pot odds. Can we make this call with a pair of 9s? So, before I show you the result of this hand, I think it might be a good idea to go over to Flopzilla and let's see if it's actually a good play to call here. Even if but we're going to keep in mind, we're going to keep this opponent's range definitely super aggro. Okay. So, bear with me 1 second as I just get everything set up here. So, we have 9 of spades and 9 of diamonds. And our opponent is 3-betting us in the small blind. But I can say that they are 3-betting pretty wide. So let's just say, for example, they're 3-betting all of their Broadways and like all of their pocket pairs and a bunch of suited connector type hands. And let's just say like also like their suited aces, because they were 3-betting really large. This would be a 22% 3-bet range. Now that's probably a little bit too aggro. So let's say he's 3-betting maybe about like 14% or so. This could be a little bit too aggro. I'm going to make it about 14%. So let's just say, hypothetically, this is all hypothetical, of course. We have no idea. Global Poker, we don't have stats. I'm just going off of based off of what I was seeing. So we, of course, are going to call him. And the flop comes out 5-8-2. So 5 of diamonds, 8 of spades, and 2 of clubs. So we have a rainbow board to start with. Now our opponent bets $3 into $4.02. And if we go over here real quick, we'll take a look at our pot odds calculator. And we can see that, whoops, didn't mean to do that, that we need to call $3 and the total pot is $7.20. So we need 29% equity in order to call. Well, let's see what he could be doing this with. He could have sets of 8s here. There are no 2 pairs he could have. He could have all these over pairs. He has no top pairs. He could have some pocket pairs, because I think he's going to do this with like most of his range here. He's got some middle pairs he could have, weak pairs. I think he would do. Like this guy's so aggro. I feel like he could do this like with literally c-betting his entire range. And I'm actually, this may sound crazy, but because of what I've seen from him, I'm going to have him literally c-bet his entire range here. Because I've seen him just triple barrel bluff with high card. So because of that, we can see that versus entire range, we have 62% equity here. And now another 8 comes out. And because of this, I really feel like, I don't know, like it was obviously my gut and what I was seeing. But I think he's just so aggro that there aren't too many situations we check back, which is why, on the other hand, it was very weird because he played that hand so passively and he never does that, which to me said like he wanted me to think that, you know, like I feel like he was, it just felt very off because he played the hand so differently. So could he be obviously quads? He has no full houses. He has no straights. He has no 3 of a kind. So he doesn't have a lot here, as you can see. He has his over pairs, pocket pair, below top pair, middle pairs. Again, all this stuff I just think he's betting. So again, we're going to give him 100%. We still have 70% equity here. And here comes the question is, what are we looking at with the kings? The king of hearts. So the king of hearts comes out. Now, we have 21% equity if he decides not to bluff. But I haven't seen him do that yet. So versus entire range, we still have 56% equity here. And as you'll see, when I pull up the calculator, it is 1245 plus 2520, 3765. We need only 24% equity here to make a call. So let's just say, even just hypothetically, okay, he just does it with ace high hand. Like he'll do this with ace high hands, but he won't do it with the other hands. We still have 48% equity to call. And being that this player was a complete maniac, I decided to give it a call here. Based on this, based on the fact that there's still so much in his range that we could possibly beat. So I did call it, given the odds that we had to call. You know, it wasn't that big of a call. We didn't need to be right so often at the time. And as you can see, we were correct. In fact, we were incorrect about one thing, maybe, is that maybe I said, oh, maybe he wouldn't go with one of his no-made hands. But the truth is, he actually did go with one of his no-made hands of the Queen-Jack suited. So when you take a look and see how this player actually played, the 3-bet is fine with Queen-Jack suited. He has a backdoor flush draw. Okay, I can give you something for that. But when the next 8 comes out, now at this point, he's literally just spewing his stack. And that's exactly what he did. And look, could I have been wrong? And all of a sudden, we get unlucky that he kings the river or something like that. Sure, but the way that I just saw him play seeing him just play all the other tables, he was at three of my tables, and hands I've seen versus me. I was willing to take the call. I got good odds the entire time, and obviously I was never folding on the turn. And we got good enough odds to call on the river with a player who I knew is capable of bluffing. So a lot of players are not capable of bluffing at Global Poker NL20. This player had shown a propensity to want to bluff. So I thought it was quite interesting. Okay, so we're going to take a look at one more hand here. I don't even know what the hand is. So let's take a look. Hopefully it's a good one. Looks like we got pocket nines again. This is okay. So this one here, we get quite the large open here from this particular player. I wonder if this is the same player again. I don't know. Hard to tell, of course, because Global Poker on their player replays, we have no idea who anybody is. But we get obviously a 4x open here, right? No, this is a 3x, 4.5x open. So I do decide to call with the pocket nines. Not going to fold the nines, of course. Don't love it, of course. Not too happy about this. But, you know, we're going to see a flop and hopefully get a 9. And we do get the 9. And our opponent bets into us half pot. So I decided just to call here and decided not to raise. And the reason why I decided to just call is because there aren't too many bluffs in my range here. My only bluffs are really going to be that I could bluff raise here are going to be like backdoor nut flush draws. That's probably the only things I'd want to bluff raise here. You know, we'd have maybe like 6-7 suited. I don't think we're calling to that open. The same thing, like suited connectors, we're not calling to that open. Yeah, we would definitely call suited aces, and that's really all we would have. We don't have too many bluffs. So I feel like if I raise here, then I'm just going to be ending up with a lot of folds and kind of capping my range too. So I decided to just call here and kind of conceal my hand with the idea of definitely raising on the turn. 4 of hearts comes out, and our opponent checks, and now I decide to throw out a half pot bet here. I keep it as a half pot bet because I'm not the aggressor. I don't think the 4 is going to help them too much, and I want to keep them in this pot. So that's why I decided to bet half pot, try and get some value for my set. The 4 obviously not so helpful for me, that I don't really think it's going to connect too well with their range. If they are on some kind of draw, which is less likely because of the fact that we have a heart, at least it gives them some kind of incentive to call here. And they do call. And a 6 of hearts comes out. Obviously, we don't love it. Any 7 would make a straight for him. And, of course, he can get a flush here, too. So the question then becomes, could he have a flush here? Well, it's probably unlikely, isn't it, I guess? Because he did bet on the... He did bet on the flop. And while it could be likely that he might have... here's the thing, okay, is that he checked on the turn. So if he had like a backdoor flush draw of hearts... Now, he could have a backdoor flush draw with the diamonds or the spades, but it's probably unlikely that he's got a backdoor flush draw with hearts. And also, it's highly unlikely he probably would have bet the turn if he would have improved to a flush draw, and he decided to check there. So it's probably unlikely that he does have something like a flush here. So I do think that most of the time I'm pretty clearly ahead here. Maybe he has hands like obviously 7s would be a little bit concerning because he could maybe open 7s here, which would have made a straight. But we could, he could check and we can bet and he can raise, and we might be able to find a fold button here because he could be representing a straight, obviously, any unlikely scenario that may have that he might have a flush. But there also is a possibility as a hand like 8s here as well, that would have decided to check call the turn. So 8s are like probably the most likely hand he's probably has, unless he also just has overcards as well. Don't expect him to have an overpair because the overpair most likely would have definitely bet the turn. So hand like 8s or maybe just some overcards or something like that. So he does decide to check to me, and again, I decided to just bet half pot here. I bet half pot, just because my hand is very vulnerable here. I decided not to bet bigger for value, but just half pot. Maybe I could have bet a little bit bigger, but I don't know. And he decides to call. And let's see, he he ended up mucking the hand. So we end up taking the hand down, and it ends up being a big win for us. I'm pretty happy about it. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this session review. If you like what you saw, please do me a favor and... Oh, we got me twice on there. We don't need that. Do me a favor, if you like what you saw, please do me a favor and please click the subscribe button. Also, if you want to check me out watching me play live, you can do that on Twitch. I stream every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. You can check me out at twitch.tv/PokerDad2878. Also, follow me on Twitter at PokerDad28. And also, you can get involved and join the PokerDad Discord as well. I'm going to leave a link to the Twitch and the Discord and the Twitter in the description of this video. And until next time, PokerDad